Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the middle of a yet another crisis as we lurch from crisis to crisis in our modern hellscape that we call life. Prince said that there was a way to get through it, but he's dead. And much like him, so soon will all of us be. There is a heat wave going through Minneapolis, and the biggest thing that it seems to have caused is lots more traffic for fucking no reason. Yes. I literally snowblowed like a week and a half ago, and then I got sunburnt, and somehow or another, I could get home from work faster in a blizzard than I can with nothing going wrong at all. But I guess everyone that doesn't have a job needs to go drive their car around and run out of gas on Broadway coming from Northeast back towards 94, so I can go home. The only fun part about the heat wave is that everything is all brown and dead, so our reality does reflect the grim post-apocalyptic nightmare that we currently live in, rather than being all green and, it's like, oh, it's summertime. It's like, oh, it's hell. And there's like already a warning on the weather thing that it's like bad, like wild brush fire season.
Yes.
So we're going to have ourselves a little good old-fashioned Los Angeles fun when the fucking idiotic, drunken 16-year-olds are shooting off fireworks into the park and then being like, oh, it's on fire, because they spend too much time looking at TikTok and not enough time staring at the weather app like I do, because I'm a 42-year-old man. And that's what I look at for fun. I'm like, who's influencing the weather? Let's find that out. No, but the only fun part is that right now, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, there's just, according to everyone that's moved to a shittier, scarier state that's warmer, is just the worst place in the world. It's like hotter here by 20 degrees than it is in like Los Angeles and Florida and all this. It's like 60 there. And that's fun, because normally when that happens, it's because we're cold. It's just like right now, it's like Minneapolis is 22 degrees hotter than Southern California and Florida right now. And normally it's like, right now Minneapolis is colder than it is on the moon.
Or Mars.
Yeah, it's warmer on Mars.
Yeah, today.
Well, what part of Mars?
Today my car clocked 89 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not happy about that.
We really should have rigged
the heat. Anything over 35 degrees is bullshit to me.
Wow, you've become a real cold monkey.
Yeah.
I thought it was anything over like, I thought you were just comfortable in the gloomy 50s, but it's like a hair above freezing, and you're
then
out.
I have to like open my fucking car windows if it's like 50.
I guess if you're in the car, yeah, the car is not a normal part of the environment.
If I can hide in my house, then I don't give a shit what temperature it is. So.
Or if you work at a nice big stone studio that also has air conditioning in it and stuff. Yeah, that's it was almost a little cold at work today. But that's nothing new, because the one thing I will say about my work is that it is not particularly warm in the winter. Like, I've literally not gone in a few times when it's like, it's 10 below. It's never, like, my knees are going to lock up. It's going to get too cold in there for me to, like, and if I was, like, running around, like, if I actually did work for a living, yeah, sure. But, like, I've graduated to being, like, a computer dickhead. And it's like, okay, well, now I'm just sitting here and my legs are cold. And I realize the folly of, No, it's not a folly. Like, breaking your back for work is still a lot worse. But, you burn some calories. And lucky me, the bathrooms are about a football field away from where I sit, and I drink a lot of water, so I get my steps in. And that's always fun. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it is going to cool off. The weather, it's cold in this. I don't even have the air on. It's freezing in this basement. God bless a dank basement. Mm-hmm. That's the place to live. Like, though it be filled with...
live in a basement.
Yeah, Meredith lives...
Wonderful.
Meredith, who is my friend and not my wife, who I always say, because I'm like,
that.
Well, because sometimes Alexis is on, I was like, who's that? And it's like, well, that's my actual wife. It's like, are you married to Meredith? Like, no. But, and she's not also like a weird roommate anymore. We've gotten so old, we don't all live together anymore. It's not a thing. I don't live in a house full of weirdos that we're like renting and slowly destroying from somebody who deserves to have their house slowly destroyed that they're renting. Like, that's not really a thing anymore. But Meredith lives in a basement all the time. And I also, I mean, I guess I could hang out down here more, but I kind of, sometimes my whole world being a basement is a fond memory. It's like I'm the cold goblin, even when it gets real hot.
It's so great. Like, it is always cold. where I live.
You are a real aberration too, because generally my experience, and this is an oversimplification, and I only know what I know living in my own skin, but typically it's the ladies that get too cold, and the guys are like, it's fine, and I don't. They're like, oh, the shower is not peeling the skin off of me. We need to turn it up hotter, and I'm like, I will just sit on the toilet while you shower, and I'll take my turn once the things run out. But you like to be cold.
I do. I mean, that's not how I used to be when I was just a young thing, but
you used to want to move to like Arizona or somewhere.
Yeah.
Live in the
what a dumbass.
The blasted heat of a red state. But of course, if you moved to Bisbee, you could have been Doug Stanhope's neighbor, and that would have been fun.
I don't know. Tucson's kind of close to Bisbee. A little, maybe.
It's a few. I think it's only like 4 hours. I think it's a quick jaunt. Because that's where
Tucson's pretty close to the border. Isn't Bisbee close to the border?
But Bisbee's 7 miles. Bisbee is like where occasionally you see barefoot people running by. And you're like, oh, like that's that's people from Mexico. Holy shit!
Well, Tucson's about an hour. It's about an hour north of the border, but I'm not sure exactly where Bisbee is on the east-west.
Yeah, I think it's not straight north of Bisbee. I think it is like it's an hour or so.
Well, I would have driven through it because we drove to Mexico when I stayed there. So
yeah,
I went to Nogales. That was fun.
So you went into Mexico? I've only walked into Mexico, which is hilarious. And I got told not to.
I think we drove to the border and then walked through we didn't actually bring our truck into Mexico, but we walked through and just kind of walked around Nogales. It's an interesting little city.
Yeah,
all of the houses are like on a mountain. Like they're just built straight up. It's kind of cool.
Oh, there is some interesting topography in the Southwest and in Mexico. Problem is, like, the only time I've ever really had the opportunity to walk into Mexico, it's because I've been in El Paso, and they're like, that's Juarez, John. Yeah. Like, don't go in there.
Seriously, we've been to, like, Nogales, Juarez. That's, like, two of the more of the dangerous cities in Mexico. And
that was the first time I was there.
We didn't go together at that point.
Well, I've played in El Paso in more than one of the bands I've been in more than once each, which is insane. But it's also because, like, I mean, that time SMB played there, that first time, that for sure was a club that was like either, I don't know, heavily funded by or owned directly by a cartel. Like that, no joke. Like that was the story where like we were playing at this thing in El Paso. They were paying us an obscene amount of money because somebody there liked us. And like they were like giving us like just all this booze, and they were like, we can take your dry cleaning for you. We'll clean you all your grody clothes and whatever. They were just writing off all this money. And like, you know, at the end of the night to get us paid, there was like someone's girlfriend lost the safe key and it was under the carpet and they had to drive. It was such a coke story. Like, I was like, okay. But then in the middle of it, like we were just drinking booze in the parking lot, and this car went squealing into the parking lot of this club in El Paso, and a cop came following him with lights blazing and everything. Guy gets out of the car. Cop gets out, gun drawn at guy. Guy says something to cop. I can't tell exactly what. But he's like, hey, blah, blah, blah. The cop was chasing him, right? Because cops will chase people when they've committed a humongous crime and pull a gun on him and be like, get on the fucking ground. He's like, hey, blah, 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 blah. And the cop's just like, oh, ha, ha, ha. And like I was there with our old merch guy, Scode. Yeah. I don't think I ever told it out here. And like, no. I remember like kind of like watching, and then like, Scode started inching towards me as I was inching behind the van, because I'm I tend to be kind of a fearless guy, but I do have self-preservation, so I'm like, let's get behind an object.
Yeah, when you see,
because when bullets fly,
exactly, yeah.
And then I just did this, and Scode like handed me the booze jug, and I like put it in the van. We're like, well, there's cops, and then we just like sat watch, but they knew we were there, obviously.
Right.
And then like they're like, oh, blah 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 blah. The cop's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And the guy gets in the car and leaves. Cop holsters his gun, looks over to us. He's like, hey guys, relax, and just gets in his car and peels out like all fast with like Leonard Skinner blaring. That Skinner with a joke, but the rest of it was true. And it was like, what the fuck was that? And then like the security guard was just like he was like this huge, like a linebacker black dude, and he had like a Glock on him, and he was like, she's like, I got a new Glock today, just like waving it around, showing us. I'm like, Jesus Christ. And then people kept rolling up, and they're just like, we're looking for black ass. And we're just like, what? And he's like, that's me. And he just comes out, and he's like, leans in the window. I'm like, what the fuck? And it's like drugs, but like, I think like weight, like not like dime bags. I mean like a trunk full of cocaine or whatever. And yeah, they paid us a whole bunch of money, and then another time I was in Blue Felix and we were playing at an outdoor festival, and it was like Snoop Dogg was supposed to fucking show up and headline, and then he didn't, which we kind of saw on Instagram was like coming. We're like, this isn't happening. This is not happening. And that was the thing where a riot started, like, because the promoter went up and he's like, well, Snoop Dogg's not going to be here, but good news, guys. These wristbands mean that when he does come back, you're getting in for... And then he doesn't finish his sentence. I just hear, get fucked! And a bottle just pegs, like, just down he goes. And then, like, they were, like, shaking the lights and stuff. And, like, we just, like, got, like, we were, like, me and Ben was with, and, like, Jake were just in lawn chairs on the roof of the fucking bus. Our driver at the time was this, like, 400-pound, long-haired, weird metal scumbag biker guy named Yimmy, who used to just eat live toads and drink motor oil. And, like, he's an artist that makes, like, axes and swords, but he, like, if you hammer him to a board, it's art now, so you can just drive around with it in the fucking thing. And he just, like, just lights a big Wolverine cigar, just rips a battle axe off of the fucking thing, and just, like, stands there, just pat, just waiting for people to come up to the bus. They didn't. And they were just tearing the thing apart. But it was kind of this half-ass show, because I think enough people knew Snoop Dogg wasn't coming anyway. And we were playing this thing. There's people there, but, like, whatever. But on stage, I could see, like, over there, like, that's Juarez over there. And it was a full, like, Ferris wheels and lasers going into the clouds, EDM, Skrillex, fuckfest thing. And I'm like, I'm going over there. Yeah. And like, Chris was just like, I don't think you should do that. And I'm like, I have wandered drunkenly into Mexico more times than you have. He's like, I don't drink. And I'm like, that isn't the point. And he was like, yeah, but still, it's like a rave. And I'm not... You know, like, I'm a big goon. I'm not, like, 3 white college girls. Like, I'll be fine. He's like, yeah, well, you know, your kidneys and liver still go on the market no matter who you are. And, like,
he's got you there.
And I was like, oh, I think they might return my liver when they... But, or it's worth millions. She's like, this is the golden liver. Like, whatever 90-year-old dying alcoholic politician, Bezos guy that's old, they're just like, you just put this in him, and he's just like, his hair grows back in, just like... what the fuck? Like, because obviously it has to be like like it has the glow like in The Last Dragon. That's my liver. So, yeah, speaking of Mexico, the clickbait of today's episode, I won't even say topic because I won't lie to you. I mean, I'll lie to you in the everything else, but not right on here. I really wanted to talk about the whole Bud Light kerfuffle, because it's actually interesting. We're talking about it upstairs. I think we pinpointed what's so weird about it. Because you're like, oh, why is Kid Rock firing a machine gun at all these cans of Bud Light? Like, why are conservatives so angry about this? What did they do? It has something to do with a trans person, okay. And you might ask yourself, well, what is their new ad campaign? Like, hey, teach your kids to suck a dick. Like, what is it? What are they so mad about? They're very mad. They're like, you just lost your biggest customer base. And I'm just like, what, skinny gay dudes and Mexicans? Like, really? Like, Bud Light is what I used to drink when I still wanted to drink beer and not get fat. And I can see from most of their fucking fan base that they're probably drinking regular Bud or gravy. Like, I don't really know. But...
I'm chasing it with Mountain Dew.
Yeah, like a vodka Mountain Dew. Nothing's worse. Oh, by the way, yeah, that was the favorite drink of the battle axe fat gravedigger bus driver guy that we had. He would do vodka Mountain Dews, but it was Diet Mountain Dew.
Oh, yeah. Well, then that's perfectly all right.
Well, no, he was like, you like to drink, and he gave me something like, ugh, and he's like, oh, you don't like vodka, blah, blah. I was like, it's Diet Mountain Dew. Just give me why are you putting this in it? Mix it with pee. It would be better. But yeah, no, they're just mad because the spokesperson advertising it is a trans person. They simply exist. And that's all it is. And I know that, like, I'm one to kind of go, like, the identity politics are a little bit heavy-handed. The culture war is kind of really, like, made up. Like, all these things, I also have mentioned on other podcasts that, like, I can see through propaganda pretty well, and I'm like, I think that some of the stuff that comes from the extreme left is actually, it's not coming from like, oh, both sides are two different weird things. It's like, I think it's all coming from like one place. It's like, oh, get them all riled up about a bunch of stuff that on paper is kind of nonsense, and that'll like add a little credence to the hateful people. You know, it'll like keep people off the fence. It'll put them into camps, and they'll just fight it out, even though it's like, what are we fighting about? Whether or not 0.00000000001% of the population has a right to exist? I think they do. And you've probably never met one of these folks in real life ever if you're that mad about it. I mean, maybe once. You just like pass someone in the library and you didn't notice. You're just like 2 days later, you just wake up in a cold sweat with a boner. It's like, that was an Adam's apple. Like, you're just fucking freaking out. Like, oh yeah, and then that's the problem. So, but I just wanted to... the thing that I wanted to sort of examine here a little bit is that not that I'm okay with it, not that I get it, but it's like, you know, when people are like, I don't want to see two dudes kissing on TV, and it's like, you know, it's not really that weird, and I don't agree that people should be mad about it, but it is a thing. It's a thing that's happening. It's a change that's like, okay, we're looking at an event, and there are some people that are a little bit like crappy. But at the very least, I think they're somewhat honest when they're like, look, man, I don't care what you do. I just don't want to have to look at it. Now, it's like, you are going to have to look at it. That's life. But, you know, if you're at the very least willing to go like, I don't care what you do in general, we're getting somewhere. That's not good enough. They need to kiss every gay person's ass. Okay, calm down. Yeah, we'll get there. No, we won't. But we're going to try. But it's like, except that they're like, look, I don't care what you do. Okay, that's something. Instead of going like, you shouldn't exist. Because that's where we're getting. And that, I don't think, Meredith and I were talking about, as old as we are, I don't know if we even really remember the last time we saw someone like go, it's not like there's two dudes kissing. It's not like there's like a thing happening. And by the way, two dudes kissing is not only fine, but it's great. I always hope those two dudes are going to smooch. Sometimes they don't, and it's very frustrating. But the thing is like, this is like, there is a black person, and we're mad. That's what this is like. And obviously, like, there's a lot of people that have problems with stuff like that and, you know, whatever. But, like, on a large scale, and I know there's all kinds of bullshit out there. And I will admit that a lot of it is, like, a little bit overblown. It's like, oh, what, you're not throwing us a parade. Your silence is deafening. Yeah, that side of things is super fucking obnoxious. I get it. But, like, this isn't that this time. This is actually, like... people very clearly being like, that person is there, and they are this kind of person. It's September 11th. That, I just realized, that was like the last time. That was the last time. If there was a Muslim person in something that you saw, people are like, we fucking give them the electric chair because they're all part of the same thing or whatever.
That's true.
And it's like, it's always bubbling under the surface because the real thing is everybody just wants America to be this like Christian white ethno state or something, and it's gotten louder and worse because we've gotten to the point where that shit's never happening. Like, if there was a chance somewhere between 1910 and 1968 or something, that chance is long gone. Like, that is just not, there's just too many other people. It is just the way it is now. And you're just going to have to fucking figure out how to live with it. Like, you know, whatever. It's like, everybody, it's like, well, I don't think Germany in the 30s was so wrong. It's like, dude, the Jewish people that live there were a pretty small minority. At this point, if you're like, let's get rid of everyone who's not white, that's more people than you. That's like, everyone who's not a straight white Christian outnumbers you by so much at this point. You're just like, dude, this isn't happening. But of course, now it's a panic. Now it's like, well, that's very upsetting. Don't say that out loud. Then I have to think about it and know that it's true. And that scares us horribly. And I don't think it's like, I don't want to be optimistic and be like, oh, it's the home stretch. You know, like, oh, and in not long, it's going to be such a mixed bag that no matter how virulent the weird, you know, white Christian ethno state thing becomes, it's just, that's such a small amount of people that it's like, okay, this is never going to gain any kind of real traction in any kind of meaningful way or whatever. But as it stands right at this moment in history, yeah, they'll never, like, win. but there's still plenty enough of that where it's like it could get ugly. And the idea that you know, yeah, Kid Rock's a piece of shit. He's the fucking Nickelback of Ted Nugent's. And it's you know, it's embarrassing. But he's got this huge reach. And all this whole thing was like, a lot of people really do like feel that way or whatever. And I can't stress enough that it was by virtue of a person existing, not even doing it. And anything they would have been doing would be fine. It's like, hey, dressed in drag and read a book. That's fine too. I'm saying that's fine, but I'm saying if people are wigged out about it, they're like, well, what if that happens inside of my house for some reason? It's like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you about that. Lock your door, I guess. But, you know, just like, oh no, it's like, we're getting back to like, there is a black person there, or there is a gay person there. And just for that, you know, we're not buying any more toys from Mattel or like whoever the fuck it is. And also there's, you know, I haven't even gotten to the comedy side of this yet, which other people have pointed out on the internet pretty successfully, in that like people are like, I'm switching to this beer, and it's like Anheuser-Busch owns them too. And it's like, you people are fucking stupid. Like, I would just love to be this even-handed, fair guy. And yeah, I will bitch about, you know, people have been working on a PhD in nothing for 20 years, standing on a chair in a kindergarten classroom and clapping at me and screaming at me to change the words I use. Yeah, that's stupid. But that doesn't mean I agree with it. Like, oh, so, you know, that means you should stop saying that, like, you know, everybody that thinks that, like, if a trans influencer from TikTok tries to sell you a Bud Light, that you need to start shooting a gun all over the place, like that you're not just, you know, I don't know, inbred. Like, yeah, I'm going to keep saying that until you fucking prove me otherwise, and you're not doing a great job. It's like, yeah, just somehow indicate to me that you haven't been drinking lead-based gasoline since you were 2 years old, and I will. No, don't tell me you haven't been. Show me you haven't been. That is what I want. But I kind of don't really know what's going to happen, because it's like, that is a level of very pointed and very really unprovoked hatred. Like, you know, yeah, like Bud Light made a choice, but here's the other thing too. Like, everybody talks about, like, well, they're going to lose all of their fucking customers and whatever, and it's like, yeah, I don't think any of these companies that are doing this are like, look, like everybody that, like, you know, making rainbow Oreos and stuff, like, none of that. Oreo has never done a thing out of the goodness of their creamy heart. Like, it's not a thing anybody does. Disney doesn't do anything because they love you. Nobody who tells you, welcome to Costco, I love you, really loves you. Hate to fucking break it to you. They're doing it because they know the numbers work. So all the weird dickheads who fucking, you know, failed out of cop school that work in a warehouse to try to tell you that they understand how the goddamn global economics of the stock market works, all of a sudden they're like, well, they're losing money hand over fist. If you like it, yeah, show me the graph. And they're like, well, and then it's just like this mess of paperwork, and it's like, you know, Charlie Day, like in the yarn string meme or whatever, when he's in the mailroom. Like, it's like, you don't know anything about how any of this works. Like, everything happens next quarter. In the words of Gomez Adams, the next quarter is new business, and now is old business. And I can't remember the quote, but I need to watch Addams Family again. Actually, I don't think I've gone back and watched the first two since watching the Wednesday show, so I should go back. Gives me a hankering for some fencing and mustaches and everything that I love in the world. And dueling scars in the space program. Not that stuff. No, but... So, yeah, it's like, I don't think anyone's losing any money over this, because it's like, they're not doing it to be like, I hate to break it to you. It's like, well, you George Soros and Disney, they have this agenda. It's like, they don't. Their agenda is to make money.
Also, yeah, and also this didn't happen like around Pride, because all these companies that do like the rainbow thing, they always do it around Pride.
Yeah, they're cashing in on it. But here's the thing.
This just kind of came out of... No,
well, and that's actually, you raise an excellent point, which is that year after year they do the Pride thing. Mm-hmm. What do they just throw a bunch of money in the toilet and light it on fire every year? These are giant, evil, soulless corporations. I don't think that's what they're doing. No. And in the fantasy, you know what it is? I figured it out. Why it's such a fun fantasy to go, no, they're losing money, but going woke because it's part of some weird agenda that has nothing to do with money somehow. Like, giant corporations, like, just sometimes don't care about money or whatever. They care about other stuff, I guess. Like, which is insanity. But that's better than the truth. And the truth is they make more money when they do that in the long run. There's blips, but they're appealing to the broader audience, which makes you, who gets upset about it, smaller audience, which means you are living. You're not about to avert your worst fears with your AR-15 and a bunch of hamburgers. You are living your worst fear, and it's already too late. You are becoming obsolete. If your dollar carried the weight that you wish it did and it used to, and you think it might still does, none of this would be happening. Did it happen in the 80s? No. Because, the homophobic rednecks were the biggest market for everything. Now they're not. There's not that many of you. A lot of you don't have a lot of money either. Yeah. That's the other thing. It is wild seeing people who are just fucking shit on it broke defend capitalism. But what capitalism does? It allows people to move from Los Angeles to Austin, Texas, and turn Texas into a fucking blue state right out from under you. Because you know why they can do that? It's because they have the fucking money. And they can fund gay pride parades right through your hometown. They can fund Antifa. They can do whatever the fuck they want because they have money. And the free market decided that they do and you don't. You know that thing you always defend no matter how stupid it is? Like... That's what this is, too. It's like, they have the money. So now the Oreos are rainbow. They have the money. So now a trans TikTok influencer is throwing Bud Light at you and Kid Rock's shooting at it because they're not sponsoring him anymore. Because nobody cares. He doesn't draw. It's like Donkey Kong in the parking lot of the arcade, The Simpsons. Yeah, you don't bring him in like you used to, Donkey Kong. That's Kid Rock. And yeah, he threw a barrel. You still got it, but nobody's paying to see it. It is like a wild sign of the times, and the outrage is actually like a death throw. Like it is the original very, very, very boring Dark Crystal. It's like, I'm still Emperor. Just dust coming out of his mouth. It's like, that's you. That's you right now. It's like Disney makes a Black Little Mermaid. It's like, we don't like this. We still decide who buys VHS tapes. DVDs. No one buys DVDs. Don't do that. It's streaming now. It's like, there's too many streaming sites. He turns into dust. Like that. And being compared to the dying Skeksis Emperor is actually too good.
It is.
Now that I think about it, but I'm a man that appreciates a fucking analogy and a very visual one full of screaming and like with the other day the silo full of Easy Cheese the size of a Saturn V or whatever. Like that's such a great visual, and I'm probably right, which is terrifying and awful. That's a weird thing too. Is like you could make more money marketing socially to like the future. But then everyone's going to end up working at a company town for Elon Musk fun bucks or whatever. Like, it's still like the worst thing ever.
On Mars.
On Mars.
In our little, like, globes of oxygen and whatever that we have to pay for.
Yeah, Total Recall. Oh, my God. I said something. Fuck. This is so funny, and it's going to be such a waste of everyone's time because I don't remember what it is. And ironically, I was talking... My coworker, Derek, who listens to this podcast... I think I was saying it to him, and I compared, God, what was it? It was like, no, it's too softball, but it was something like like a really bad fart, and then like the people turning into the Total Recall, like, ah! But it wasn't that. It wasn't a fart. It was like something actually kind of poignant, and it was like really funny. Fuck. So hopefully, like, in a few days when this comes out, he listens to it, and he's just like, you were talking about this, and that's the only reason I'm bringing it up.
Yes.
Because that actually, like, it entered a lot of little trade secret when I'm holding court with a lot of my coworkers who would just love to go back to doing their job rather than listening to me scream for 20 minutes. When I do have everyone laughing and not walking away, I'm like, this is going to be a good podcast topic, whatever this is. And
I mean, that's how you decide.
I do, and if it's funny again, it might work its way onto like an actual, stage bit of Monday night, or maybe if I ever do it anywhere else, we'll see. So I did want to mention, as far as me being real funny, so I, by trade at this point, what puts food on our plates and a roof over my head is fucking the fact that I can manipulate media through video or pictures or weird ideas and stuff. And therefore, I've gotten pretty sharp with the old AI generated image things. It's like, it's just easy to do. It's like, well, if you actually want to get what you want, though, I mean, you do have to work with it a little. You need a little experience. Is it easier than painting it by hand? Well, fucking duh. But so is taking a picture. But you got to know how to use the camera. It's like, well, why is it all dark? It's like, we'll figure out how it works, idiot. I'm not telling you which button's the f-stop. You learn. The lens cap's on. But yeah, so I mean, it's like that level, It's like, obviously taking a picture of something's easier than painting the Sistine Chapel. But if you don't know how the fuck a camera works, you're not taking a picture of shit. And the iPhone or something like that makes it easier. But nevertheless, you still got to frame it the right way. Rule of thirds is always nice. Yeah, I don't know. But I used a fun combination. The YouTube version of this will have this as a thumbnail of Donald Trump marching in a gay pride parade with an awesome rainbow tie and matching pocket square and some cool Elton John sunglasses. I love the way that turned out. Actually, I kind of want that tie and pocket square. Someone probably makes it. You can get Amazon a rainbow tie and rainbow pocket square
or
together.
Etsy.
Yeah, Etsy or Alibaba or somewhere somewhere I'll have something crazy like that. It would just be dope if it was like a nice tie. It's like just the difference between a real silk tie and some like puffy almost Halloween costume thing.
Yeah,
it's so different and it's so nice and they're easier to tie. They hang so well. But the point is that like. I made that picture, that image, in Midjourney, which we've talked about on this podcast a lot, because it's lots of fun. But I also know how to use Photoshop pretty well. And not to give away the whole farm or whatever, but it's like, it is a part of my actual job I have. But, I used to freelance, do things for money. I would design T-shirts for people and flyers and things, and do shit for the bands I was in, whatever like that. And along the way, I learned how to also use it to like forge shit. And, I won't get too specific, but I've gotten some friends out of a little bit of trouble. I may have helped someone change their name with a bunch of documents that weren't real. Like I've done a whole bunch of weird shit where they're just like, all right, looks good. Like help people apply for loans that they shouldn't have been able to get. It's like I like kind of maybe altering their pay stubs a little bit. I won't say who, I won't say when. I won't say whether or not this is a joke. But it's flown in my joke world. Perfectly, and it was like 10 years ago anyways. That's whatever the limitations is. Like murder is like 8, so I'm sure it's fine. But point being, I made it look like Budweiser tweeted. Like it looked like a real Twitter screen cap, just down to the pixel. Like I fucking did everything. I put the right amount of blur. I found matching fonts. Like I just did everything. And I posted it on some things on Reddit, and just the reactions from people were unbelievable. Like mostly, like, I don't think anyone believed that it was real. Like, that the picture was real and Donald Trump was the thing. But a lot of people believed that Budweiser did it as, like, a joke or something. Like, they were like, this is, well, I know that it's really Budweiser's Twitter, that's for sure. But I think this picture might be AI. And I kept posting I found a reaction GIF of when, Chris Farley, which I think it was Black Sheep or whichever one it was, where he's like, it's a clip on, and David Spade's like, are you sure? Like, I kept posting that as a reaction.
Tommy Boy.
It was Tommy Boy. But there's just one of David Spade holding the clip on. He's like, are you sure? Like that. Everyone's like, I think this might be fake. Like that was,
That's perfect.
That was my favorite go-to. They go, oh, do you think so? I don't know. I just found it somewhere. But they didn't mean like the whole thing. Like, I'm just so proud of the Photoshop job I did. I'm sort of proud of the AI image because the only thing, it's pretty photorealistic. They're on version 5 now. It's unbelievably great.
And that one was pretty clear when I looked at it. Even the hands. And someone did comment on it, too, that they're like, it's got, like, one too many fingers. And they're like, you can always tell by the hands. And they're like, yeah, but the hands are like, the hands used to be just like they were just like. It's pretty clear.
Like
I mean,
piggies.
Because usually the people in the background look like goblins.
No, it's gotten.
These actually look like people, but I mean, that is not a person that would ever be at Pride. That's like
it's a person that would be at Trump. Yeah, but he's led them. You know what? He's finally doing some good. He's facing some jail time. He's in the golden years of his life. He's living his truth finally. And they're just looking at the thing I made right now. But
It's too bad this camera wouldn't zoom.
No, I know. I should have set it up where you could look at it because it's pretty funny. But I don't know. Follow me on social media and look. I'll post it somewhere. But yeah, it's literally like the only thing that's weird about it is he's kind of like pointing his finger like, yeah, or whatever. And he's just kind of got like one extra finger, but it looks normal. It doesn't look all mutated. It's just like if you don't really pay attention.
Really count his fingers like
and
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the thumb is like 6. It's seriously at just looking at it, you can't.
And I kept fucking with everyone that was like, nope, his hand or whatever. And I'd be like, wait though, didn't everyone back in the day always say his hands were weird? Wasn't it that he had 6 fingers? I think this is real. They're like, no, they said his hands were small, and they're not. And like, it was just, people that obviously kind of like him. Like, people were just like, yeah, because people be like, oh, keep shitting on your fan base, Budweiser. I'm like, do you think this is real? Like, well, I don't think the picture's real, but the joke is in poor taste from them. And I'm like, I made this. And this had like, I won't say which, but I posted it in this Reddit group at like
say
10. Say
hello to your new... What was it?
Oh, give a warm welcome to our new spokesperson. Because, the trans TikTok influencers, Bud Lights, and regular Budweiser, as he's a more robust man, is Donald Trump. This Bud's for you. No, I found their old advertisements and like took the "This Bud's for you" off of there. I figured, it's like impact font. Like, it got taken off of that group, and it was literally them being like this doesn't fit. Like, it was the nitty gritty rules where it's like this is for funny things, but if it's not funny just because of the picture. And it needs text around it. Well, I was like, we all know the picture's funny. And then they did respond. They're like, well, then just post that. And I'm like, yeah, but people need to know where it came from. They'd be like, you guys take shit off of this particular group all the time. So you're like, you can't just post an AI photo and go, ha ha. And I'm like, well, then it's like, it was a weird catch-22 with them. And they're just like, either way, yeah. I have to go trim my neck beard. Just kidding. I'm growing it out for the summer. Like, yeah, fucking Reddit. So, yeah, that was like a whole thing with that. And I really wanted it to, because I figured out one of the tricks to going viral is to put some weird thing on a big Reddit group. You kind of got to trick them because it's like, if it's your own thing, they'll be like, you're self-promoting, no. If it's a YouTube video, like, no. It's a song, like, no. But if it's like, it's a picture that you didn't make that maybe you found somewhere else and you can legitimately convince people that that's the case, it'll get a zillion upvotes, and then other people will post it on Facebook groups. Like, again, I made that...
what a weird thing.
The YouTube, the Yoda and Mark Hamill lifting weights together thing that so many people have seen. And, like, that has gotten to the point where I just mentioned that. It was Owen at Nick Kolzicki and Scott Bivas and our friends at this thing at a brewery, and my old guitar player. I brought that up to him, and he just did this to me. He was like... That was you? Like, oh yeah, you saw it, huh? Like, it got so all over the place that I could bring it up in real life conversation. People were like, wait a minute, you did that? I'm like, oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure I posted it on my timeline, so maybe he saw it there.
No, we went on to discuss it further. And he's like, I saw it on this big, Star Wars fan page with like 2 million followers posted it.
I also found it there as well because I looked for it.
Yeah.
Or I think we both did.
No, I got tagged like 87 times like when that happened. But anyway.
Back when that happened.
Like, all those months ago. Yeah. So I wanted this to happen too because I wanted it to get like, because it doesn't, I mean, I like, you can post things. Like, this is like an off the wall story, but it's like, I just happened to have caught this. I think this was like a couple of years ago, but it's like weird, obscure friend, Damara Atkins was on the Colbert Report for like 2 seconds talking about a thing, and it was an internet thing that she had posted that just got like on fire, and they actually talked to her for like a minute because they were talking to 10 people who all had, but like this show like a minute on like a late night TV show as not being an actor or anybody that's, it's just like, oh yeah, this just got so out of control and we figured out who did it. So I'm always like, rather than like touring the country and playing to sound guys and nobody and all this other stuff, it's like, I just very casually like to toy with like one of these times something so stupid's going to happen. And instead of going on there and being like, yeah, I was just like, I'm going to just bring the thunder and be like, who the fuck are you? And then people are going to accuse, like, that guy's probably already someone that some studio's pushing to be a famous idiot and whatever. Because it's like, why is he so funny and comfortable on camera? And it's like, because I practice with this stupid thing. And many things before it and on stage and whatever. I know how to talk. But, yeah. No, that's probably all I really need to say about that. Now, let's talk about the Dalai Lama having a little boy suck his tongue.
Yeah, let me just read the direct...
Yeah, try to aim, like, shift your body so your mouth is facing this a bit. Sometimes you're really quiet. So, like, check it.
I get it.
Okay.
I get it.
I'm going to move you.
Looking up.
Look it up this way and talk.
Okay, well, I'm not going to be talking while I'm looking it up.
You're talking while you're looking it up right now?
I hate you.
I know. I just wanted you to rotate
get
ever
a
so
direct
slightly.
Quote from the article, which is it's so icky.
I just think.
Okay, Dalai Lama apologizes after kissing boy and asking him to suck my tongue.
Like, what even is that?
The Guardian.
I know.
And CNN. CNN also had a similar.
CNN. Awesome.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so for me, there's, like, two things about that, and I guess, like, I'll start with the slightly more, like, socially aware thing, and it's that I think it's funny that, and I think actually racist, so this will be a little taste of some people's own weird vitriol, to go like, religion is bad, and the religious leaders are creeps, and they're pedophiles, and they're bad people, Catholic Church, and they are. I'm not saying they're not. I'm mocking you, but I'm agreeing with you. Yeah. But then the idea that just because it's a sexy, mystical, Asian-flavored version of the exact same thing means that it couldn't possibly be bad. I tried to think of someone who would never possibly destroy us, the Dalai Lama. It's just cute when they do it. Like, you're like, oh, they file my toenails.
He's still a goddamn religious mascot.
I let them wax my pussy because they're not real people. It's not a thing. It's cute when they have little religions. It's not like the molesty ones we have here. They're all molesty! All the religions are molesty. There's probably like a greater power in the universe. I've spoken to it on so many different drugs. But that's the thing. You take the drugs. You talk to the burning bush. You don't take Moses' fucking word for it. You could stick your head up a cow's ass, or you could just ask the butcher, whatever the line is. We're going to reference that movie a lot. I want to watch it again. Well, I was talking about how Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly were sort of the second incarnation of Spade and Farley, and I still believe that. And at work earlier while we were getting so much done today. But it's nice out. Fuck. I mean, not nice, but earlier in the day in the shade, it's not bad. So, but, yeah, like, it's kind of this, like, I don't know, and I'm not going to go too far into the kindergarten classroom and clapping and between my words and whatever, but it's like, I do think that it is a little bit like, just assuming, you see like an Asian person, you're like, like, oh, they're, like, it can be racist to assume someone's good, I think. Like, I think when you see, like a broken down shitty car full of, like, weirdos and stuff, and they're throwing garbage out the window, and you smell weed or whatever, and then you're like, oh, phew, it's white people. We're probably okay. That's racist as shit! Yeah. Like, and going like, oh, like, there's a group of dudes over there, oh, I don't know, and then they're all Asian, you're like, oh, we're fine. I'm like, you've never heard of the Yakuza? Like, give people a little bit of credit for evil here.
Seriously, have you ever, like, been over to East St. Paul?
Yeah, like, there's... like the idea that certain
Asian
groups of people
exist.
That certain races are like, it's cute when they do it or whatever, like that is insane. Yeah, be afraid of everyone. That's what I'm saying. No, but what I'm saying is like the big time spirituality, right? Which is when it's commodified as like an actual church system or something. It's already fucked. It doesn't matter who's doing it. Like Yeah. The thing that no one really wants to admit is that the grassroots, the tenets of like Buddhism and stuff as a personal path towards enlightenment or whatever is a very beautiful, wonderful, and valid thing. And then when it becomes this big, huge thing, it's bad. But it's the same thing with like white church picnic Christianity is a complete just mutation of old school European organized Christian religion or whatever that has its roots in like just ancient Stonehenge Druidism way back in the desert Abrahamic religion stuff where people would like little groups of people would take basically psychedelic substances and commune together with nature in the center of the universe and what is basically God, I think. And they're like, oh, cool, this is actually important. This is moving. I've seen it on ketamine. It's a real thing. And, but it got commodified. Like, back in in the early agricultural days, there'd be people who were like, okay, we're going to, instead of following, buffalo around, we're going to start like farming from the land. And then, maybe this particular group owns this land and they have little skirmishes where we stab each other and you get out of here. This is for us or whatever. And it's like fucking chimps do the same shit. Like, so it's pretty organic. It's not great, but it's a thing. It makes sense that we do it. Because whatever ape we evolved from was the one that was just a tiny bit more scary and violent than chimpanzees, which is, makes a lot of sense. But it is horrifying. But then, people were like, well, wait a minute. Like, what if more of this is mine and I just have people start working on it or whatever? And it's like the original reaction to that is like, well, let's behead that person. Who the fuck are they to say they own the land? You can't own the land. And we don't work on it. It's ours. We work on it. We keep the stuff. But then they, figured out a way to kind of be like, aha, but these like spiritual communion things that we have, it's like, slowly over time, it's like, well, that thing has chosen me to become the lord of many plots of land that you all work on or whatever. And you're like, no,
convenient.
I eat these mushrooms and all this other shit and smoke this burning acacia bush and DMT and whatever. And those things have told me that you're full of shit and this doesn't make sense and it's not very pure and communal and empathetic. So once again, we're going to eat you. And they never got able to get into that critical mass where when you own enough land and enough people that you start being able to go like, and now we're going to start fashioning weapons and having people that like march in lockstep at anybody that goes, now we're going to eat you. You just fucking just bowl them over and behead them. It takes a lot to get to that point from that just kind of dirt farming subsistence existence. So what you do is you commodify the religious experiences of people because you know that they're profoundly impactful and you have to massage this. It takes time. And you end up being like, you no longer take mushrooms and acacia and things. We communicate with the spirit, and we will tell you what it says. And, what does that sound like? Church. And that's the thing. You start, if you go far enough back in England, the royal family just happened to be the people that own more land than everyone else, figured out to invent basically religious leaders and stuff that tell everybody that God has chosen them to do so, and you better fall in line. And if you work real hard, your rewards will come after you're dead and everybody dies. So won't that be great? For now, though,
and while you're alive, you must give us all of your treasure.
Yeah, you give all the treasure.
The more treasure you give,
you work
the
for
less
us.
likely you go to hell or whatever.
And then it turns into a thing where it's like, okay, well, now we're like this huge thing where everyone's on board with this fucking shit. So it's like now we have knights and armor and swords and things. And we roll around to other places that are like, hey, you should join our thing. And sometimes they're like, you know what, you're right. And your religion sounds like the kind of thing we talk about. We're going to join that. And then, yeah, it sounds like you'll protect us from the other people that are always after us. And other people always are. That's how things have always been. And they're like, okay, we're going to join you. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then occasionally you go to a little area where they're like, we're not going to join you. And you're like, well, we're going to kill you now. And then we do. And the few people left are like, never mind. We're on board. And it turns into this big thing. And now we have like a royal family and all this stuff. That's how that fucking shit works. And as Voltaire famously said, we will never have peace in this world until the last king is strangled with the intestines of the last priest. And I think about that before bed every night. And he's very correct. Yeah.
I've never heard that quote before, and I like
it. You have. Voltaire's lots of fun. He was the one on his deathbed, too, where they were like, do you think that you devoted your life to Satan. Should you not repent to God now in your final hour? And his last words were, now is not the time to start making enemies. He died. I'm like, I know that's probably not really true, like so many of those things are, but I hope so. He seemed like a real son of a bitch, like not unlike myself back then. Just sass mouth on his deathbed. The last thing I say will either be very confused because my end will be surprising,
Probably.
But if it's slow, the last thing I say is going to be some shit. And that's going to be funny. But, yeah, so you get people like the Dalai Lama, and it's like, okay, so it's like, oh, yeah, no, the Buddhism, that's cute. It's not the evil religion like Christianity. And, like, no, it's not that where they stem from is basically all the same place, which is ostensibly very similar. Almost the exact same thing, like the very, very, very early ancient sacraments and things. They were all kind of the same idea, and it was sort of an important building block of like working together and coming up with a language. And as we have mentioned before, it's like a man with a stick doesn't do very good against a bear, but a bunch of people that know how to talk to each other and plan ahead against the bear, cocaine or no, are able to fuck them up. And that's where let's start working together. We can kill all these bears and wolves that are always after us, and we can even eat them, and maybe we'll start growing potatoes. And that, then eventually we're on the moon. So that's like a whole thing. But that commodification to kind of make royalty and huge rich people and being like, well, you gotta fall in line with like the church and stuff. That's all a hollow, phony representation of what is a very, very good thing. Like, and that's the weirdest part about it. I've really changed my opinion from like the whole thing is made up and stupid, and more like it's worse than that. It's literally a perversion of something that was good and is good in your own personal life. Why do they fight so hard against when psychedelics started becoming a thing in America in like the mid-century? Like, they didn't want people figuring out we don't have to listen to Nixon. Like, they just wanted you just like, yeah, you just do what we say. It's like, you can't give LSD to soldiers. They'll just like climb a tree and stop talking to you. Like, they're like, well, this is no good at all. And yeah, like essentially organized religion of any kind, including things that have leaders like the Pope or the Dalai Lama or whatever, it's all terrible because it's all by nature an evil thing, because it is taking one of the most fundamental tenets of humanity, which is sort of this like being in touch with one another through, for lack of a better word, the spiritual realm or whatever, and understanding that everyone feels the same way you do, and it's like has its roots in empathy and all these other things, and it just takes all of that and just just burns it alive and puts it in a Darth Vader costume. There's just twisted and evil. There's no one. You cannot be a good leader of any kind of organized religion, no matter where. Oh, Buddhism's cooler than Catholicism. It's like, not at that level, because we're all sucking tongues. Like, it's all just kissing little boys on film and then going, oops, I'm sorry.
And then like the crowd laughing too, like about it. I don't know.
And who's trying to get their tongue sucked? For fuck's sake, like, that is so, like, does that feel so good?
Weird.
Like, just wait till the cameras turn off and have them suck your dick. Like why are we, like, if you're going to be like this, why are we fooling around with, like, well, it's only a little weird since it was in front of ostensibly everyone on Earth because of the internet. Like, it's like, well, it's just my tongue. It's like, just use it on the kids you kidnapped in your weird underground thing. Like, what you... Like, that's it. Like, all major religious leaders are pieces of shit, and you can't even run a railroad. Like, oof. It's embarrassing. Like, if you're going to be an awful sex pervert, just, do it right. Being an awful sex pervert that wields an immense amount of religious power normally means never having to say you're sorry. That's why...
Oh my God.
And the Dalai Lama is just like, I shouldn't have done that. It's like, did we ever ask him, like, oh yeah, cool, but like, why did you do that? Yeah. Like, I don't, it's just like, no, I know it was bad. It's like, I don't want to hear that anymore. You've already apologized. That ship has sailed. Walk me through your thought process. Ugh. Like, what about it? Just like, well, just suck on my tongue. Gives his little shriveled weenie a jingle. Ugh. Like, what is that? It's so weird, and honestly, I can't deal with it anymore, so it's time for Dear Asshole.
Thank God.
I don't understand. Thank you, current news cycle, for being one of the wackiest ones in recent history, making my job very easy.
We made the camera a little bit blurry, so you need to have it focus on Dear Asshole.
Yeah, let's just focus in on, like, every porn I click on, focus in on that asshole.
There it is. We're
just
back.
Kidding. I really don't like close-ups of like a huge gaping spread open thing.
I don't need to see that either, you know.
Like I like, I'm
Leave
good.
Some to the imagination.
Yeah, I'm good with the butt cheeks being a little pushed together while a giant dick goes in and out of them. Like that's fine. I understand what's happening in there. And they're like, oh well, yeah, we're into softcore porn. Yeah, Dear Asshole, which we've explained, and we re-explained it to our good friend Jason Kruger when he was our one and only guest so far. So, I really don't have to explain it again. I don't know why this page is yellow and kind of fancily, looks like a grocery bag. I don't understand.
I thought they all kind of had a different...
No. They're all... Some of them.
There's some fancy ones.
Well, again, yeah, some of them I guess are on this is just random.
Notebook or
some of it's notebook, some of it looks like an old letter from the Civil War.
So they just went through all the different fonts that we used to go through. And
well, as I've said, this is just a completely artistically bankrupt, stupid thing that the kids or somebody connected to someone with a lot of money, just to prove that they deserved the Maserati and cocaine, had to make something. Because as I've said, they have many blogs with many, many views on the back. It doesn't say what they are or what those numbers are. It just literally, it doesn't even sound like a fake resume. It sounds like a thing where I didn't read a book in elementary school, and I'm like, what was the one with Huck Finn was a boy who had many adventures, not limited to, but also including his friend, whose name I read on the back. They were on a raft. They used the N-word, something, I don't know. And I really stretched that out into 5 minutes of a fucking C-. And this book deserves an F. But I've been reading a page a day of Dear Asshole, letters that someone else writes that you can leave for people because you're a passive-aggressive psychopath with absolutely no creative ability of your own. And this particular page is entitled, Dear Overly Competitive Asshole. Now, we might have a chance where I might agree with some of this because those people are super annoying. Because sometimes they're just bitching about people who are doing their jobs, and sometimes it's a little racist. This might actually be relatable, so let's find out. Anyway. I'm sick of everything turning into a game for you! ! Congratulations, your hemoglobin count is higher than mine. Do you want a cookie? They do give you cookies after you give blood, so they don't need the cookie if they have so much hemoglobin. Anyway, we can't even hang out anymore without you trying to beat me at something. No, I don't want to race you to that old oak tree or try to hold my breath longer than you. Are you hanging out with a 9-year-old? Is that the issue here?
Seriously.
Did someone's kid just be like, I'll race you to the tree? You're like, you're an overly competitive asshole. You know what I learned while someone else was paying for me to go to Yale? That being overly competitive is a sign of being anti-trans. I don't know. I have no idea. And maybe, if Kid Rock hadn't shot all those Bud Light cans, he probably would have actually, that was probably the 5th take. He probably shot so much Bud Light to make it look like he shot it all at once on the first try. You motherfucker.
Yeah. Ick.
So, this person's racing a 9-year-old to the tree. Last I checked, we weren't training for the Summer Olympics, so get a fucking grip.
Ooh.
Yeah. We're taking our insults from the fucking back part of Spencer's from the late 80s now. That's cool. And for Christ's sake, we're adults. Oh, okay. Can you please make one decision that isn't based off a game of rock, paper, scissors, although it says XOXO? Is this one just a cute tweaking of someone they have a little crush on? Do they have a crush on a 9-year-old? Was this written by the Dalai Lama?
There you go.
P.S. Blood work is not like a report card. Type A is not better than type B, you asshole.
Oh, God.
Well, the important thing is that someone either made or probably lost a huge amount of money on that book. And no, I was gonna say if they only really deserve what happened if they lost it. There's no way they could have made it. I've never heard of this book. Again, it just showed up, and it might be from another dimension, like that McDonald's Taco Bell cup that Ben Hurley has. That if you actually drink water out of, you will age into a mummy immediately, like in Indiana Jones.
None of you ever drank out of it?
Are you kidding? I was terrified to drink out of that. I was almost like, okay, that cup. So, a friend of mine and an old roommate, Ben Hurley, found a cup somewhere, and we're not even sure where. I don't think he remembers.
Got it through Taco Bell? Or
I don't remember how this even fucking happened, and I don't think I meant to. I think it's one of those things where if you ask him, and it's like the dead zone where he tries to remember, and it's just like a blue screen, and it's like, but it's a cup that was branded with both McDonald's and Taco Bell. There's not one thing that's both in this country anywhere.
So yeah, the top of it's got the regular Taco Bell, and then the bottom's got the like M for McDonald's on it.
Yeah. Like that cup made me question whether or not the whole time I was friends with him was just leading up to that. Like he's not a real person. Like he actually is, like his hair's dyed. It's like gray, like the knight from the Last Crusade. And if I ever was like, all right, let's have a little fun, like let's pour some like whiskey and something into that cup or whatever and just like see what happens or whatever. Like I knew no matter how long I had known Ben for before that the minute I drank out of that cup, his face would just go slack and he'd go, "You have chose poorly."
The Reverend John Wheeler podcast takes zero responsibility for the words, actions, or ideas of its host, guests, or listeners. Though the people on the screen may at times be speaking directly to you and may occasionally give you direct calls to action, neither Reverend John nor the Alchemical Cocktail Lounge are under any moral or legal obligation to answer for the potentially disastrous repercussions that may arise if you are stupid enough to actually follow the orders of a raving lunatic. Think for yourself and do whatever you want, because you're on your own. If anyone ever tries to sue this podcast, black SUVs will converge on your location in the darkness of night and you will never be seen again. Remember to like and subscribe.